Hello, and welcome to another episode of Undiscovered Beasts and Strange Phenomena. Please join our experienced and knowledgeable panel of hosts as we explore the great mysteries of our time: Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and unexplained phenomena.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Timber Devil, High Strangeness in the Forest. This is your host, Julie Rench. I want to thank you for tuning in once more with me. This is going to be part 3 of a 3-part episode called the Uwharrie Files. If you haven't heard the first 2 yet, I suggest you go back and listen to them first so you can get caught up on where we are. I want to give a big thank you to Mike Richberg and Adam Davis for providing the platform for me to do this show. Big kudos to them. And before I get started, I really hope that everybody's doing okay. I know it's been pretty crazy things going on in the world right now, and we're all kind of struggling, and it's been pretty tough, and I hope everybody's well and staying safe. But let's get right into the Uwharrie Files Part 3. Now, I had talked to you before about and had played for you different percussive sounds, banging type sounds on the last 2 episodes. And I want to start with some audio that you haven't heard yet, some more percussive and banging type sounds. Not sure what they are. I'm not again going to claim that I know what's causing these. Not claiming this is anything Bigfoot related or paranormal. Excuse me, I'm just sharing with you audio that I record from my house, from my digital recorder that I leave out on my deck all night long. And again, most of the audio clips you hear are between the hours of 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 a.m. Most of them are going to be looped at least 3 to 5 times. If they are not looped, I will let you know in advance, not looped. And I guess we'll just get right into it. Oh boy, here's one called 3 Knocking Sounds on Roof. And I was sitting outside at the fire pit, alone, dark, late, and I heard this, I don't know, it was banging on sounded like one of our barn roofs, which is probably, I would say that was probably 60 feet away from me, where I was sitting. And it sounded like somebody banging on it with a closed fist. It didn't sound to me like something falling off of a tree and hitting the roof. I've heard that tons of times out there. I know what that sounds like. This was very deliberate, and it was one of those nights where a lot of weird stuff was going on out there, and I was getting the heebie-jeebies before this even happened. The feeling you get when you're being watched. I was getting that feeling, and it wasn't long after this I'd gone in because it was getting pretty late. So this is my response to the knock as well. I just heard a loud banging from over here. I'm sure that was caught on tape there, or recording rather. I'm not seeing anything, but it sounded kind of like something hit the top of this out barn thing we have over here. It's got a metal roof. So, yes, you can hear me go. What I did is I walked over there and stood in front of the barn. And behind that particular barn is my property fence line, and on the other side of that is property that belongs to my neighbor. And nobody lives there. There hasn't been anybody living there, gosh, I want to say going on 2 years now, and there was nobody living on that property when this happened. And you can hear me say caught on tape. Well, that kind of shows my age because everything's caught on tape, right? So I corrected myself on recording. But, yeah, that's the kind of things that happen out there. Here is another one, and it is called Banging on Metal Again. So, yeah, it sounds very similar to the first one as far as the pattern goes. It's like a louder one at first, and then it gets a little bit less intense. So, yeah, I'm not sure about what's causing that. Then I have one here called Loud Metallic Boom, and I get these out here from time to time. And that one almost sounds like the same pattern, the very loud percussive sound, and then the lighter, but it sounds like a lot faster motion than the first one I played you. I'm going to play that one again. Okay, so, yeah, what I'm going to do next is play for you and what's called Dog and Something Else. We're going to, that was the percussive I wanted to play for you on this episode. So let's switch over to another category here. And it's vocals and you know, howls, that type of thing. Okay, so this is called Dog and Something Else. And do keep in mind that, again, these clips have been vetted and analyzed by David Ellis from the Olympic Project, and he has been doing this for over 10 years, and he analyzes them through spectrograph software and compares them to known canine sounds, you know, and he's very good at what he does. So, again, if you haven't listened to the first and second shows, go ahead and do that because it explains everything about what this audio project is about, how it began, and how exactly these clips are analyzed. Okay, the next one is called Interesting Vocal. Now that one I've heard many times over the last almost 3 years that I've been doing this here. That particular vocalizer shows up. You know, it's not every time that it shows up when I'm recording, but it definitely has showed up over and over. So whatever is making that sound continues to roam about the perimeter out here of our land. Okay, so the next one is long and short vocals with yotes. This one's very interesting because it's what we call the Uwharrie vocal. It's this really long howl. And if you've already listened to the other shows, you've heard this before. Again, same contributor to this one as the ones I've caught before. Sounds to me like there's two sources, the long vocals first and then a response vocal, if you will, which is a lot shorter. But yes, it is mixed in with coyotes. All right, so that one is not looped. That goes 16 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and play it again for you. And by the way, a lot of times when this particular vocalizer starts up, it will trigger the coyotes. And again, we do not have wolf in this area, and the amount of time that this vocal goes on is very telling. Okay, so yeah, that one is, like I said, I've heard that many times. And I've even heard that when I'm out at the fire pit, you know, with people like Mike Richberg that was sitting there, who also witnessed that happen. It came from our northwest, and then as it actually made different sounds like that 5 different times, and it was moving from west to east. So each time we heard it, it was moving a little bit more to the east of us. Okay, so let's do, it looks like, let me play this. You've heard people say that there's these knock sounds that happen, knocking, and nobody knows for sure if Sasquatch do these knocks, first of all. Nobody's seen them doing that. I'm not even sure what is making these sounds, but I have caught some really good the knocking type sounds. I don't know if it's wood on wood or what it is, but I have a nice double knock is what this one's called, and then there's actually a reply to the double knock that happened right after. So what I'll do first is play the double knock. Okay, and here is reply to double knock. So that one sounds like something communicating in an unintelligible voice or language or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and replay first the knock, the double knock, and then right thereafter the reply to that came. And you may also hear what sounds like a dog bark in that, and it could very well be a dog bark. I'm not sure. It's just a weird sound that is right in the middle of all that. All right, so let's move along to I'm going to save that one for last. Okay, this one says an odd dialect in the vocal. And it's 39 seconds long, and it is looped. So yeah, that one is kind of unusual, and it has definitely some. It sounds like some type of communication. Okay, so now the next one is roar upsets dog. So you're going to hear a dog right after you hear the original suspicious sound. So now that you've heard it, you can distinguish between what we refer to as the roar. The roar is actually happening when the dog starts to bark. So in the background, you can hear the roar, the end of the roar as the dog begins to bark. I'll play that one more time. The next one I'm going to play you is called Roars and Response. So I'll go ahead and play that now. Bear with me because my internet is very, very archaic here because I live out in the middle of nowhere. So sometimes it wants to give me a problem. Okay, so am I in the forest? There's a lot going on in that. I believe there is some dogs mixed in with the unknowns, but it's just, there's definitely more than one contributor to those sounds. And there's all different types of levels and of these sounds in distances, if you will. Some are closer than others. So whatever's making the sounds are kind of going back and forth. And it's just really, like I said, it sounds like you're in the middle of the jungle. So let me go ahead and play that one again for you. So, let me say this too, and I've said it in the previous shows, but in case this is the first time you've tuned into the episodes here, not every night I get these sounds out there. There's different times of the seasons. There's different times of the moon phase. There's different times, according to the weather, that these things show up. The busiest times, it seems, again, is spring and fall, and winter's pretty steady, but it really takes off in the spring and fall. So let's do Strange Signature next. All right, I'm going to play that one again because here at my house, I tell you what, it's great living in the middle of nowhere, but the amenities are sometimes horrible. So our landline has a lot to be desired as well. So that one was kind of fading in and out on my end. I'm hoping it wasn't on your end. But just in case, I'm going to go ahead and play it one more time. And by what strange signature means is the sound represented in the spectrograph software is what we would define as strange, unusual. It doesn't meet or match the known usual suspects. It's something out of the ordinary. All right. The next one, Strange Voice with Mockingbird. Now, out here I have, a lot of mockingbirds, and they go all different hours of the night. I mean, they'll be around midnight, it seems, especially, is when they really start letting loose. So it's not unusual to have some of these sounds. You will hear the mockingbird in the background. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there. You can definitely hear the mockingbird. I'm not sure what is being said there. It just sounds like mumbling to me. I'm going to play it one more time. Okay, yeah. And I believe that's a dog you hear in the background, kind of going off. So, all right, so the next one is called That Ain't the Donkey. And David Ellis knows that we have a couple donkeys that live on the cow farm, which is just to my north. And the donkeys, of course, are good for chasing off coyotes, because a donkey will, tear up a coyote. So they're good to have around your farm. And a lot of times when this type of stuff is going on, you'll hear the donkey, and it has a very unusual signature. And you can spot it a mile away. And this one, David called it That Ain't the Donkey, because it's something very unusual. It's definitely not the donkey signature. It's not the donkey, but it's something very unusual. And David does have a sense of humor with some of his titles to these clips. So let me go ahead and play that one for you. Yeah, that's kind of unusual, for sure. So the next one I have for you is called Weird Vocals and Percussive Sound. Yeah, no idea on that one. I'm going to play that again because it's just so bizarre. Okay, so sometimes there's a lot of things being done at one time that it's just, again, like the earlier one that I played, it sounded like you're in the middle of a jungle. Okay, now, yeah, I am in a forest, but this is not the Amazon. Okay, this is North Carolina. We don't have primates that I know of that have been scientifically verified anyway. So, again, David with his sense of humor, he just called this, "What is all of this?" Okay, and this is just a snippet of what went on that night, for several minutes. And this is not looped, so everything you're hearing is one consecutive long sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now. To me that sounds like very primate-like in more than one contributor. I don't believe I was outside when this happened, luckily. Okay, so the next one is called Yelling Voices. Now, by listening to that, you would think, well, that's just a person. But David has analyzed that and compared it to human signatures. Like when a human is yelling, there's particular signatures that show up on a spectrograph. And those did not match human. So I'm not sure what it is yelling out there like that. But the contributor, the sounds it's making, the signature does not match known human signatures. Yeah, so there is that. All right, this one's pretty interesting. It's called Yells, Voices, and a Whistle. And it has a whistle towards the end. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me that during a Sasquatch encounter that they have been a part of, that right before they witnessed the creature, if you will, they heard like the banging, the knocking, and then a lot of people have heard what they believe sounds like a whistle. If you've been around the Bigfoot world for any length of time, I know you've heard stories about the whistling. That also goes back very far into native stories about the whistling woman. Yeah, but the whistling has been witnessed frequently, by a lot of different people, and also investigators that are in areas that allegedly have a lot of activity. They'll hear these whistles along with quite a bit of the percussive sounds, the banging, the knocks. So let me go ahead and play that for you now. So there's a lot going on there. And again, it sounds like more than one contributor to me. You know, what do I know? I'm certainly no expert. Nobody is in this particular field, but it's just, you know, all the audio that I've listened to over the years, you kind of start picking up on what sounds to be like more than one contributor of the sounds. So to me, that does sound like more than one contributor. So let me play that one more time for you. All right. So here's one called Short Growl. Yeah, that one is kind of creepy. I'm not sure. I mean, I've heard that particular sound several times. It's been caught on audio here quite a few times. But it's always real creepy to me. It sounds very intent and like it's communicating. What it's doing is communicating something to something else. And that's always a head scratcher, you know. It's like, okay, so there's more than one thing out there. And I say thing because I haven't seen what is making these sounds. Again, yeah, I've witnessed a lot of things out here on my property. Huge, gigantic black shadow moving from left to right behind the tree line. Myself and Jeff's nephew and his girlfriend, we're all three out there, and we witnessed it in broad daylight. There was all kinds of sounds being made out there, and that's kind of what drew our attention to that area. And it was like this huge, massive shadow. And I can only describe it as a shadow because it seemed like it was gliding through the trees rather than, you know, like going around them, if you will. Kind of like with no problem whatsoever maneuvering around the trees and the foliage back there. So I'm not sure what it was because you couldn't see any particular form. You could just see that it was a very large, dark, whatever, moving. So yeah, I've witnessed stuff like that out there. Yeah, a lot of weird stuff. All right, so now listen, here's what I'm going to do. I've got 3 more to play for you. I'm leaving the best for last. These are from a new batch that I just got back from David. And I believe these are from February of this year, February or March. Now this first one is called Two Whoops and Mumbling. Now, keep in mind, I've had a lot of recordings that sounds like something or somebody just out there mumbling incoherently, or it sounds like something just trying to speak. And that just sounds creepy to me. But anyway, I'll let you be the judge of all this. You know, you can give me your input. You know, keep in mind, I don't live right inside the Uwharrie Forest. I believe one of the main campgrounds, Yates Campground, is a good 7 miles from my house. So, some people might think, well, that's people camping out in the woods. That's because there is, in certain times, Uwharrie can be quite busy with visitors. But that's not, at least I can tell you that's not people camping at the Uwharrie. And most of the properties behind me are privately owned, a lot of woods, a lot of forest with no houses on them, or just farms. Houses are quite spread out. Could it be people? Sure. I'm not going to tell you that it couldn't be people. It's just really odd that they would continue to show up and making the same kind of weird sounds on different nights, different hours between 1 and 4, and usually not in the summertime. All right, so 2 whoops and mumbling. Okay, so the next to last is called Maybe a Voice, and I think it's really creepy to me. Now that has a hint of something almost sounds like it's singing. Now, I know there's several people who have caught on audio something sounding like singing. And if you've never heard the episodes on Monster X Radio about Donna, you should go check that out. Just Google, Monster X Radio, Donna, and I think it was 2 or 3 shows that we did with a lady who, from the Pacific Northwest out there, who had activity going on her property and got to the point where she decided to move out because she actually saw one of these things, and she saw it more than once. And it did cause her to move away from her house. So she recorded what they call singing. And I actually have caught that over here on several occasions as well. And when you match the two together, what was recorded out on the West Coast at different times to what I've got recorded here, it is eerily similar. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now. It's called Singing. Now, to me, it sounds like there's 2 contributors, again, to that one. If you listen carefully, the first part is still going on when the second sound comes in. And I mean, I could be completely off. I could be wrong. But I'm just telling you what it sounds like and looks like on the spectrograph. So I'll go ahead and play that one more time. So, those are just some more representations of what I got going on out here. And, as time goes, I'm still doing the audio project. We are now into June, almost into July. And if the pattern continues like it has the last 2 summers, things are going to start quieting down out there the higher the temperature goes. And in the interim, I still have a lot of audio to go through to send to David. I mean, probably at least a couple hundred more hours of audio to go through. So, once I get some good clips back from David, I'll share those with you as well. Maybe do a couple more shows like this down the road here once I get some good audio together. But the next shows that I'm going to be doing I'll have guests on them. Some of the guests will be members of the team that I'm involved in, Carolina Cryptid Field Research Team. It should be interesting because there's a lot going on with that. And just a lot of good stuff going on in North Carolina. So, I want to thank you for joining me again. And you guys take care of yourselves. And I will do another show for you next month. Thanks for listening.